Sometimes the past doesn't just haunt you. Sometimes it waits in silence, biding its time, until the perfect moment arrives to strike back. The late sun stretches over Eastwood Park, painting the cracked pathways in deep gold. The trees sway, whispering secrets of all the things they have witnessed but never told. On a lonely bench near the fountain, a man sits quietly. His suit jacket is tailored, his shoes polished, his posture calm. But if you looked closely, you'd see the scars. One just above his temple, faint but permanent, a reminder etched into flesh. His fingers graze it the way some people rub prayer beads when they need strength. He isn't here for leisure. Legal documents are stacked neatly on his lap, pages rustling in the soft wind. To the casual eye, he looks like a lawyer preparing arguments. To those who know better, he is something far more dangerous than that. Engines rumble. 3 patrol cars roll in. Tires crunching gravel. Headlights cutting through the falling dusk. Their doors slam open in unison. Boots hit the ground. The calm air shifts into tension. "What do we have here?" A voice calls out. Detective Mason approaches with a swagger that reeks of arrogance. His smile is not friendly. It's sharp like a predator who enjoys the chase. The man on the bench stiffens. He knows this voice. He knows the sound of that laugh, the rhythm of that walk. Memories stir. Painful ones. "Just reading, officer," the man says evenly, though his heartbeat betrays him. His papers flutter in the breeze and Mason leans down, his shadow falling over the documents. "Reading what? Drug manuals? Gang codes?" Mason sneers, lifting one page as if the words themselves are suspicious. "This is my park," he says coldly, almost to himself. "I've kept it clean for years." The man touches the scar on his temple again, an old reflex. Then, without hesitation, Mason snaps cold metal handcuffs around his wrists. The click echoes louder than the birdsong overhead. Mason grins, convinced he's in control. But he has no idea what storm he just set in motion, because this arrest isn't random. It's the beginning of something that has been waiting a decade to unfold. Officer Carter joins in, circling like a hyena. "What's a guy like you doing here? Dressed up like some hotshot lawyer?" His tone is mocking, but his eyes are calculating. "Remembering," the man replies softly. The officers yank him to his feet. His jacket rips slightly. The documents scatter like leaves dancing in the wind. A business card slips out, tumbling toward Mason's boot. He picks it up, but before he can read it, the man locks eyes with him and speaks words that cut like blades. "I know exactly who you are, Detective Mason." The detective's smirk falters. For the first time, his certainty wavers. "How do you know my name?" he demands. The man's voice is calm, but every word strikes with precision. "The same way I know about your gambling debts. Your complaints of excessive force. The times you planted evidence. The same way I know what you did to that boy in this park 10 years ago." The silence that follows is heavy. Officer Carter shifts uncomfortably. "Mason, what's he talking about?" Mason's jaw tightens. He masks fear with anger. "Search him," he orders. The man doesn't resist. He allows their hands to pat him down, their grips rough. His wrist shows an old scar from a hospital band. A faint white line the officers don't recognize, but he does. When Mason pulls out a small plastic bag from the man's jacket, he smirks again, though his hands shake. Well, looks like our scholar here likes his powder." The man doesn't argue. He doesn't flinch. His eyes are locked on Mason, calm, unshaken. He's waited too long for this moment. "See you Monday morning, detective," he says in a voice barely above a whisper. The words freeze Mason in place. How does this man know about Monday? How does he know the court schedule? The confidence he once had begins to unravel. He radios for backup with trembling fingers, muttering about a surveillance threat. But the truth is simpler. This isn't just a suspect. This is judgment waiting to happen, and Mason has no idea who he just put in handcuffs. The gravel crunches again as another cruiser slides to a stop. A woman steps out, Sergeant Harper. 2 decades on the force, sharp eyes that rarely blink, and a loyalty to Mason that has buried more than one uncomfortable truth. She surveys the scene with calm authority. "What's going on?" she asks, voice flat but heavy with expectation. Mason waves toward the man in cuffs. "Caught him casing the park. Claims he knows my name. My schedule. And look what I found in his jacket." He holds up the plastic bag with a triumphant sneer. Harper studies the handcuffed man. He sits quietly, his torn jacket exposing a watch worth more than most cops make in a month. His shoes shine like polished glass. "This is no ordinary suspect. Identification?" Harper demands. In the inner pocket, the man replies, steady and composed. Left side. Mason pulls out a leather wallet, hand-stitched and expensive. He flips through until he finds a sleek business card. His laughter erupts in disbelief. Honorable David Lawson, District Court Judge, you've got to be kidding me. He tosses the card toward Harper. She catches it, frowning as she runs her thumb across the seal. The embossing is deep, professional. The weight of the paper feels wrong for a fake. She mutters, "If it's counterfeit, it's an expensive one." Lawson's voice is calm. "I'd like my phone call now." "You'll get it when we decide," Harper snaps, crumpling the card. The sound of tearing cardstock echoes like an insult. Mason smirks. Every drug dealer thinks he's a lawyer. Every gangbanger thinks he's the mayor. "Congratulations, Judge. You're the most creative one I've met yet." But the man isn't looking at Mason anymore. His eyes flicker to the badge number pinned on Mason's chest, the license plate on Harper's cruiser, the blinking red light on her body camera. He memorizes everything. Each detail is a weapon, and he knows how to use them. Another car arrives. Officer Chen, young and eager, hurries out, clutching an evidence bag. Unlike Mason and Harper, Chen still believes in the system. Still thinks honesty is part of the job. "What do you need, Sergeant?" "Bag this," Harper orders, handing him the crumpled card. Chen smooths it out carefully, his brow furrowing as he inspects the seal and printing. This looks real." "It's fake," Harper snaps. Lawson tilts his head slightly. "Tell me, Officer Chen, does it feel fake to you?" Chen hesitates, caught between instinct and command. His silence says more than words ever could. "Book him," Mason barks. "Drugs, identity fraud, resisting arrest." "I haven't resisted anything," Lawson replies calmly. "You reach for my weapon?" Mason lies without missing a beat. The other officers nod. They've heard the script before. They know their roles. But Chen lingers, suspicion flickering in his young eyes. Something doesn't add up. Real criminals don't act this calm. They don't wear suits that cost thousands. And they certainly don't know detectives' court schedules. Lawson watches quietly as they shove him toward Mason's car. The same make and model that had carried him away from this park 10 years ago, bleeding and broken. Different license plate, different year, but the same dark memory. The door slams shut. Through the bulletproof glass, Lawson stares at Mason. His calm is more unsettling than rage could ever be. "This was routine 10 minutes ago," Mason mutters to Harper as he grips the steering wheel too tightly. "Now it feels like a trap." The radio crackles. Central booking incoming. One adult male. Multiple charges. Lawson closes his eyes as the city hums outside the cruiser. Sirens in the distance, traffic rolling across highways. The restless murmur of a machine that never sleeps. In less than an hour, his fingerprints will tell the story Mason tried to bury. And for the first time in his life, Mason feels afraid of a man in handcuffs. Central booking reeks of disinfectant and fatigue. Fluorescent lights buzz overhead, casting pale halos that make every face look exhausted. The walls are a dull gray, the kind of color that absorbs hope instead of reflecting it. Officer Martinez sits behind thick glass, cataloging wallets and phones with the mechanical rhythm of someone who has seen too many ruined lives in one night. She barely looks up when Mason marches Lawson inside. "Empty his pockets," she orders flatly. Lawson complies without protest. His wallet, his keys, and a Mont Blanc pen that gleams like a quiet insult against the drab booking desk. Martinez frowns at the pen, holding it carefully as if it doesn't belong here. "Jack it off." Mason helps tug it away with unnecessary force. His fingers graze the inner lining, and suddenly his smug grin returns. Well, look at this." He holds up another small bag of white powder, this one glinting under the harsh light. "That wasn't there before," Lawson says calmly. Martinez looks up for the first time, suspicion flickering across her tired eyes. "You're saying it was planted?" Lawson doesn't flinch. "I'm saying I know who put it there." "And why?" Mason cuts in, sharp and loud. "Yeah, because drugs just appear on their own. Next, you'll claim your magic pen wrote you a clean record." The evidence camera clicks. Martinez photographs everything by the book. The baggie, the wallet, the jacket. Chain of custody locked down. On the surface, it looks official, untouchable. But something in her gut twists at the ease of Mason's discovery. "Fingerprints next," she says. The scanner waits like an oracle, its green light blinking patiently. Lawson places his thumb on the glass, A soft beep confirms the print has been captured. A second beep follows as his index finger joins the database. Somewhere beyond these gray walls, government servers stir awake. Data streams across networks Mason has never heard of. The silence stretches too long. Harper shifts impatiently, muttering, "This is taking forever." She wants him booked, charged, and forgotten before anyone starts asking questions. Then the scanner chimes again, louder this time. Data transmitted, cross-referenced, analyzed. Multiple federal agencies are now watching. Lawson sits quietly as if he already knows what's coming. Mason paces, trying to mask his growing unease with arrogance. "Get his mugshot," Martinez says. The flash blinds the room for a moment. When the photo appears on the monitor, Mason stares at it with unease he doesn't understand. He's seen this face before. Not like this, composed, professional. Unbroken, but younger. Bloodied, barely conscious on park pavement a decade ago. The realization hits him like a punch. "Impossible," he whispers. Lawson meets his eyes across the room. His voice soft, steady, almost gentle. "You remember me now, don't you?" Mason's chest tightens. Because the boy left to die in Eastwood Park 10 years ago is no longer a victim. He is Judge David Lawson, and the reckoning has only just begun. The steel doors slam shut behind them, sealing Lawson inside a narrow cell. The metallic clang echoes like a verdict. The walls are painted cinder blocks, cold and unwelcoming. The bunk creaks under his weight as he sits, his calm posture completely at odds with the storm brewing outside. Mason leans against the corridor wall, trying to look relaxed, but his hands betray him. They shake with a tremor he can't control. Harper notices but says nothing. She's been around too long to miss the signs of fear. "Keep it together," she mutters. "We bury him like we buried the others." Mason nods automatically, but his confidence is crumbling. Every detail of tonight feels wrong. The man isn't rattled.
He isn't begging.
He isn't even angry. He's waiting, like someone who knows the ending of a story the rest of them haven't read yet. Back at the booking desk, Martinez checks the system again. The fingerprint data has triggered a red alert on her monitor. She blinks twice, thinking it's a glitch. But then the alert escalates, flashing bold letters, Federal Judiciary. High clearance match, immediate attention required. Her stomach flips. She leans closer, reading the impossible words on the screen. David Lawson, Federal District Court Judge, sealed background, highest clearance level. Appointment 3 years ago. She freezes. This can't be real. And yet the federal databases don't make mistakes. Detective Riley Wong from Internal Affairs arrives quietly. She's not the type who draws attention when she walks into a room, but her presence carries weight. She approaches Martinez, glancing at the flashing monitor. One look and her expression hardens. "Who arrested him?" Wong asks. Martinez points. "Detective Mason, Sergeant Harper." Wong exhales slowly. "Of course it was." She pulls the arrest file. Mason's handwriting leaps off the page. Phrases she's seen before in other questionable cases. Same suspicious behavior. Same aggressive posturing. Same discovery of narcotics. Copy and paste corruption disguised as procedure. Her phone buzzes. A message from Officer Daniels, a patrolman who was at the scene earlier. Something didn't feel right. Mason seemed too ready, like he knew exactly what he'd find. Wong dials him immediately. "What do you mean, too ready?" Daniels lowers his voice over the line. The suspect, Lawson, he knew things. Personal things about Mason. Debts, complaints, stuff nobody outside the department should know. The puzzle pieces snap together in Wong's mind. A victim from the past, a judge in the present, and Mason. The common thread binding both. She glances through the observation window at Lawson. He sits on the bunk, calm, patient, scar on his temple catching the fluorescent light. 10 years ago, a teenager was beaten nearly to death in Eastwood Park. The report had Mason's name on it. Case closed due to lack of evidence. Now the same boy has returned, not as a victim, but as the one person Mason can't silence. Wong grips the files tighter, her voice low but steady. This isn't just another bad arrest. This is a reckoning. And Mason has no idea that his entire world is about to collapse under the weight of the truth. The night deepens, but inside the precinct the air feels heavier with every passing minute. Wong spreads the files across her desk, each page whispering the same story of corruption. Mason's name appears again and again, linked to arrests with the same suspicious language, the same convenient evidence, the same victims who were too powerless to fight back. She studies the medical record from a decade ago. Memorial General Hospital. A 17-year-old boy admitted in critical condition. Broken ribs, internal bleeding, fractures consistent with a sustained beating. No witnesses, no suspects. First responder. Detective Mason, case closed. The name on the victim's file hits her like a thunderclap. David Lawson, she exhales sharply. The pieces no longer form a puzzle. They form a noose, and Mason put it around his own neck 10 years ago. Wong's computer pings. Another federal alert escalates. Threat against judiciary. Activate immediate oversight. The system has already flagged Lawson's arrest to multiple agencies. The FBI, federal marshals, the Office of Courts. All of them now know that a sitting federal judge is sitting in a city holding cell. Her phone rings. A calm, firm voice on the other end. Detective Wong? This is Assistant U.S. Attorney Claire Mills. You are now deputized to secure Judge Lawson and all related evidence. Do not alert your command. Do not warn the arresting officers. Do you understand? Yes, Wong replies, though her pulse quickens. Good, keep him safe until morning. This arrest will unravel the entire network. Consider this investigation Federal Priority 1. The call ends. Wong stares at her phone, realizing her life has just changed forever. Officer Daniels appears at her door, pale and uneasy. Detective, I can't sleep. That arrest felt wrong. The way Mason acted, the way Lawson looked at him like he was waiting. You're right to trust your gut, Wong says. Help me secure the evidence before anyone tampers with it. Together, they head to the evidence locker. Daniels unlocks the cabinet and Wong photographs everything. The jacket, the wallet, the pen, the planted baggies. Her trained eye catches the details Mason overlooked. The plastic bag shows no wear, no pocket dust, no creases from being carried. It was slipped in recently, too clean to be real. Daniels swallows hard. So Mason planted it? Wong doesn't answer directly. Instead, she locks the evidence chain and tucks the photographs into a federal case folder. We'll let the truth speak for itself. Down the corridor, Mason leans against a vending machine, trying to steady his shaking hands. He tells himself he's done this before dozens of times. Another arrest, another lie, another file buried under paperwork. But for the first time, the lie feels fragile. The suspect's calm eyes haunt him. The words echo in his mind. See you Monday morning, detective. The phrase coils around his chest like a tightening rope. Monday is the corruption trial. The trial where Judge Lawson, was scheduled to preside. The realization crawls over Mason's skin like ice. He hasn't just arrested a suspect. He's arrested the one man who holds the gavel that could end his career. And by the time the sun rises, Mason will learn that the system he thought he controlled has already turned against him. The courthouse is silent, except for the shuffle of reporters filling every seat. Their pens ready, their cameras waiting. Federal marshals line the walls, their expressions carved in stone. Mason adjusts his tie, sweat dampening the collar of his uniform. He tells himself this is just another day, another trial, nothing he hasn't handled before. But his hands betray him, twitching, restless. The bailiff's voice cuts through the heavy air. All rise, the door opens. Black robes sweep into the courtroom. Mason glances up, casual at first, then his heart seizes in his chest. His knees nearly buckle. Because the man taking the bench is not just the presiding judge. It's the man he handcuffed in Eastwood Park. The boy he thought he left for dead a decade ago. Judge David Lawson adjusts his glasses, opens the case file, and looks directly at Mason. The recognition burns like fire across the courtroom. Past and present collide in a single glance. Predator and prey have traded places. United States versus Mason, Harper, and others. Case number 2025, CR 4921. Are all parties present? Lawson's voice is calm, steady, absolute. The prosecutor rises. Yes, Your Honor. The government is ready to proceed. Mason feels the blood drain from his face. He tries to look away, but Lawson's eyes lock onto him like shackles. Every beat of silence feels like judgment already passed. Before the proceedings begin, Lawson speaks again, his voice carrying the weight of 10 years. Before we address the charges, I must disclose a conflict of interest. This past Saturday evening, I was arrested by Detective Mason on charges of drug possession and identity fraud. I was interrogated by Sergeant Harper. I was booked into Central Holding. The charges were dropped after federal verification confirmed my identity. Gasps ripple through the courtroom. Reporters lean forward, pens scratching furiously. Harper stiffens beside Mason, her face pale. The prosecutor looks stunned. Your Honor, the government was unaware. Of course you were, Lawson cuts in sharply. Because the arresting officers failed to mention they had placed the presiding judge in handcuffs. An inconvenient truth for their testimony. Mason's lawyer leaps to his feet. Your Honor, we request immediate recusal. This creates bias, does it? Lawson asks coldly. He gestures toward the screen at the side of the courtroom. Prosecution, play Exhibit 47. The screen flickers to life. Body cam footage fills the silence. Mason's own voice, sneering, aggressive, the sound of handcuffs snapping shut. The planted evidence, the bag slipped into the jacket. The false accusations delivered with confidence. Every second plays out in high definition. Mason's chest tightens until he can't breathe. Note the timestamp, Lawson says evenly. Observe the moment the narcotics are planted. Observe the moment the lie becomes official. Another exhibit fills the screen. Hospital records. 17 years old. Victim David Lawson. Admitted with critical injuries. Discovery time listed on Mason's report doesn't match the admission. Lawson was already in surgery when Mason claimed to find him. You falsified the timeline, Lawson states, his eyes never leaving Mason's. To clean your uniform, to coordinate stories with your partner, to bury the truth of what you did. The courtroom is silent except for Mason's ragged breathing. Harper grips the table, her knuckles white. Exhibit 49, Lawson commands, audio plays. The interrogation recording from Central Holding. Mason's voice, frantic, defensive, unraveling. Denials that sound like confessions. Slurs that echo with venom. Each word lands like a hammer. Mason grips the table, his body trembling. Sweat drips down his face. He whispers hoarsely to his attorney, I need a break. The judge's gavel strikes once. You'll have your break when the evidence is finished. Financial records appear next. Gambling debts. Payments made to shadowy figures. Transfers linked to buried internal affairs investigations. The foundation of a career built on corruption. Mason's legs give out. He collapses back into his chair, his body shaking uncontrollably. Harper stares at him, realizing the lies they've lived by have finally turned into shackles. Lawson removes his glasses slowly, his gaze unflinching. Detective Mason, 10 years ago you left me bleeding in a park, convinced I would never rise again. But here I am, alive, wearing the robe you thought I'd never earn, and now it is not vengeance I deliver, but justice. The gavel strikes with a thunderous crack. Reporters rush to capture the chaos. Federal prosecutors rise with motions. Marshals move in. Mason clutches his chest, gasping, panic tearing through him. He whispers for a lawyer, for mercy, for anything. But the courtroom gives him only silence. Harper buries her face in her hands. Martinez signs immunity papers with shaking fingers. Officer Daniels testifies with steady truth. Wong watches it all, the quiet satisfaction of integrity on her face. Justice moves like a tide, sweeping away every lie, every cover-up, every excuse. Mason is let out in cuffs, the same cuffs he once used to chain others. Harper follows, her shoulders slumped, her eyes hollow. The system they thought belonged to them has finally devoured them whole. Lawson looks out across the courtroom, not triumphant, not vindictive, but resolute. 10 years of silence have ended. 10 years of scars have become strength. Justice is not delayed. Justice is here. And for the first time in Eastwood City, the system begins to heal.